Anyways, guys, we just finished washing this Ford Flex. It is back to how it once looked, shiny, glossy, and protected. We washed it with Extreme Body Wash and Wax. The tires, the wheels look
man, Henry, this thing looks good. What'd you do to it?
What are you doing here?
What do you mean what am I doing here? It's my day off. I can do whatever I want.
What do you mean? I washed it, okay?
Yeah, it looks great. Wait, it looks great, but you got one problem now. You see all the scratches and swirls on it, don't you see?
Yeah, Joey, we're not talking about the scratch and swirls. We did a wash video today.
Why not?
That's it.
There's still a bunch of scratches.
Hold on. So guys, if you guys do want,
you're not getting the message here. Look, the car was dirty.
Yes.
Now it's clean. It's super shiny.
So what, you want another video?
That's a great idea.
You know, I know the right person for that.
Who? No. You listen to me, young man. You better turn that music off right now. Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video, I guess. As you guys saw, Henry did a okay-ish job washing this Ford Flex, and we uncovered that there's a bunch of scratches and swirls, and you know, it's not like it's my day off or anything, so we're gonna show you guys how to remove scratches and swirls. I need a coffee. Someone get me a coffee! All right guys, and we're back. I've had my cup of coffee and I'm ready to tackle all the scratches and swirls on this Ford Flex. New attitude, new shine, let's get right into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my coffee down, and believe it or not, I actually have everything that I need to polish this car to perfection, all in this Shine Station detailing cart. So the Shine Station detailing cart is equipped with everything that I need, including machine polishers, pads, compounds, polishes, pad conditioner, wax, ceramic coating, brushes, towels, microfiber towels, you name it. Anything and everything that you'll need to remove scratches and swirls and restore your paintwork to brand new is on the Shine Station. So right now, what we're gonna do to kick off this detailing process, which we're gonna go ahead and start on this glossy B pillar, I'm actually gonna reach over to the back side here and grab my blue masking tape from one of the hooks on the Shine Station, and we're gonna mask off the area that we're gonna be working on today. So what I'm gonna do here is just quickly mask this off, just to make sure that we accidentally don't polish anything that we don't want to, such as the glass or any kind of trim. As you guys know, any kind of compounds, polishes, waxes, they're like a huge no-no when it comes to trim. So always make sure to work carefully. And in this case, you can actually just mask it off just to make your life a little bit easier and ensure that you don't damage any kind of surrounding trim on the areas that you're gonna be polishing. All right guys, so now that we're done masking off the trim, now we're gonna go ahead and show you guys a closer view of what the trim actually looks like. So I'm just gonna reach over real quick and grab my LED inspection light, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on so I can show you guys what the paint looks like. So right here, what you're seeing is, you're seeing a series of scratches, swirl marks, oxidation. There's actually some water spotting going on here. Before we get started with anything, I just want to show you guys this real quick. That way you guys have that as reference. All right guys, so the first thing that I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna grab myself a microfiber towel here, and I'm gonna go ahead and wipe down the surface with some wipeout. I was gonna clay the surface first, but then I realized that there are those body oils, most likely for my hands from when I was actually just masking it. So wipeout is actually a surface cleanser. All you have to do is simply spray some onto a microfiber towel, and then just quickly wipe down the surface. And the reason that we're using this product is simply because wipeout is intended to remove any kind of embedded body oils, waxes, sealants, or glazes that are sitting on your paintwork, your glass, your trim, whatever it may be, any smooth glossy surface. And this is just to, like I said, get a better grasp of what you're working with. So now that I have that wiped down, what I'm also gonna do now is I'm gonna put my wipeout back into the holster where I had it at, and I'm gonna grab myself my bottle of clay luber, and I'm also gonna grab myself some light clay bar. Now the reason I'm going with the light clay bar is because you can go ahead and feel it. I already felt it right now, and it doesn't really feel very rough. So whenever you're working with lightly contaminated surfaces, you can go ahead and use a light duty clay bar. That way it makes claying the surface much easier, much of a quicker process as opposed to using like a heavier clay bar. Now there's nothing wrong with going with like a heavy clay bar on something like this, but when you're working on less neglected surfaces, it always isn't necessary. So let's get rid of that little piece. Gonna cut ourselves a little chunk here. We're gonna put the rest back into its packaging. Close that up, put that back onto its hook. And then we're gonna knead our little piece of clay bar into a small little patty. And as you guys can see, this is all the clay bar that I'm using right here. I'm not grabbing the whole clay bar itself. I'm just using a very, very, very small piece, especially for this small area that we're gonna be working on. And we're just gonna knead this out a little bit further. That way we can go ahead and grab it with our fingers here. And that's gonna be more than enough. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab some clay luber, and then we're gonna spray the surface directly. That way we lubricate the surface. I'm gonna spray my clay bar as well. And then I'm just going to glide the clay bar left and right. You can go up and down, whatever you prefer. But you can actually feel when you start clay barring, it does feel a little bit rough. Don't be alarmed. If it does feel rough, that's a good thing, because that's how you know that the clay bar is working and removing the embedded contamination. So whenever it feels rough, just keep on gliding the clay bar left and right. Like I said, you can go up and down. I feel like in this spot where I'm at, left and right makes a little bit more sense. And then once it's like nice and glass smooth, and you don't feel any kind of resistance on your clay bar, then you can go ahead and start wiping that off. So let me just wrap this up real quickly. And we're looking good. We're gonna go ahead and set our clay luber down. I'm gonna put my clay bar back into the top piece of the packaging. I do have this little plastic sleeve. What I like to do when I have a used piece of clay bar is I put it on top. That way I know that it's used, and I can go ahead and use it for another surface on a different vehicle. That way I don't cross-contaminate, in the sense that, you know, I'm not gonna use a clay bar that I use on the wheels onto the paintwork. So in this case, that piece of clay bar I'll probably use on another vehicle on the glossy B pillars. So right now what we're gonna do is just simply wipe off the residue of clay luber from the surface and around the area where we masked off. That way the clay luber doesn't come back and get onto our pads and kind of give us a little bit of a mixed result. So we're just gonna wipe this off as best as possible. Make sure to utilize all sides of your towel by flipping it around. And it looks like we're all good to go. So now that the surface is prepped, now we can start polishing. Now, as you guys can see, one cool thing about the Shine Station cart is that it has this little bin right here. Now, this little bin right here, I actually like to dedicate for dirty towels. So as you guys saw, I use this towel to use wipeout on there. I also use it to wipe off the clay luber. Now it's ready to go into the wash bin, but we still have some work to do. So we're just gonna let that sit in there for now. I'm gonna grab our TORQ 15DA polisher. And when it comes to scratches like this, when it's super neglected, you're most likely gonna have to go with the compound. So in this case, what I'm gonna start off with is actually an orange HexLogic cutting pad. We're gonna go ahead and put that onto our machine. Make sure that's nice and balanced, nice and centered. And then we're gonna set that down really quickly. And then right now we can basically choose which compound that we're gonna go with. So of course we have products like our C4 clear cut correction compound. We have P4 here. This is a polish. We're not polishing yet because we still have to get rid of scratches. So instead, what I think I'm actually gonna do is go with our Chemical Guys V line, more specifically with V32. Now V32 is an extreme cutting compound. This product, when you grab it and you feel it with your fingers, it's extremely gritty, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for something gritty that's gonna cut through these heavy scratches, swirl marks, the neglect on here. So we're gonna grab our V32, shake that up, and then we're gonna pour about 4 drops. Now normally we recommend putting the amount of drops of the size of the pad. So in this case, it would be 5 inches, 5 drops. In this case, I'm only gonna do 4 just because we're working on a smaller area. So 4 pea-sized drops. Close that, put that back where it belongs. And then before you start doing anything else, make sure that you condition your pad with some pad conditioner. Pad conditioner, it goes a very long way. This is intended to lubricate the foam. That way it doesn't create any kind of excess heat, which can lead to burning the paint or the trim, and/or it's also gonna help us reduce the amount of dust that accumulates whenever it comes to cutting. So this is very easy to use. All you gotta do is give it one good spray and you're all good to go. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on my machine, but before I turn it on fully, I'm gonna blot the product out onto the surface that we're gonna be working on. The reason that we do this is just to make sure that the product is spread out evenly, because what happens is if you just have all the product on the pad, you put it here, you turn it on, the product's gonna fling all over the place, and guess what? You waste product, you make a mess, you waste time, and you make more work for yourself. So right now what we're gonna do, we're gonna turn on to speed setting 1. We're gonna spread it out a little bit more before we start working it in. So as you guys saw, that took less than 10 seconds. Whenever you're spreading out the product, you don't have to take your time spreading it out, if that makes sense. What I would recommend is just spread it out as much as possible in the quickest amount of time possible, and then start cutting. Because what ends up happening is you spend more time trying to spread the product, and by that time you're already breaking it down. And then when you turn the speed setting to the higher speed setting, the product's already gonna be kind of in the process of breaking down, so you don't get a full cut. All right guys, so now we're gonna turn on the machine to the highest speed setting, and we're gonna work this product in very thoroughly until it becomes clear. We're gonna wipe it off with a microfiber towel, so stay tuned. I'm gonna show you guys the results in just a few seconds. All right guys, so we just finished cutting with V32. Right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab myself a fresh microfiber towel, and I wanna wipe off the product because I wanna go over with you guys what you should be looking for at this stage. Because I know we always show like, you know, we polish it and ta-da, it looks amazing, but in reality, it's a little bit more complicated than that in person, because especially if this is your first time doing it, you may feel like if it still looks damaged, you may think that there's something going on that's wrong. But in reality, what's going on here is we just went with a very, very gritty and aggressive cutting compound. So what you're looking for right now is for the heavier scratches to be gone. And then right now what you should be seeing is more so like finer scratches, not so severe. There still may be a lot of those finer scratches, but you're not gonna see it as severely as those heavier ones. So I'll go ahead and grab my LED inspection light, and I'll bring you guys up close for another look. Just gonna show you guys like, you know, the difference of just the one pass with the extreme cutting compound, and show you guys what it looks like right now before we hit it with the polish, because that's the next step in this process. Is now that we've cut, now it's time to refine. So right now what I'm gonna do, after showing you guys that, now we're gonna swap out our pad and we're gonna swap out our chemical. We're gonna refine it with the polish. So let me go and set that up real quick, and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, so now that I've shown you guys that, I'm gonna swap out the pad now. So I'm gonna take off my orange cutting pad. We're gonna dump that into our towel bin. Even though it's for towels, I'll know that I still have to clean up that pad anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna put this green heavy polishing pad, because this pad is actually, as far as like the surface, it does feel as rough as the orange one, but in terms of the firmness of the pad, you can tell it's much more lighter, it's much more fluffy, and this is really just gonna give us a finer cut. So what I mean by finer cut is it's not gonna be as aggressive. This is just gonna be refining the surface. So the second product I'm gonna grab here is actually some V36, which is a light cutting polish. Now keep in mind, there are still some fine scratches and swirls, so instead of me just jumping to V38, I do need to refine those scratches before I go into that final polishing phase. And then the reason I skipped over V34 is because V34 is also gritty. It's not as gritty as V32, but there's really no reason to keep going heavy. Right now we're trying to refine the surface, so that's why we went with this combination. I'm gonna grab my V36, and we're gonna pour about 4 drops onto our pad here. Put a little bit more on this one because it didn't really come out as much. I'm gonna close the lid here. Whoa. No product wasted. We're gonna set that down. We're gonna grab our pad conditioner spray. Light spritz, don't go heavy. Don't spray too much because then all that product's just gonna fling around. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing. Spread it out by blotting it out. Speed setting 1, spread it out, and then work it in. So let me do that and show you guys the results. All right, so we just finished working in the V36 with our green pad. Now we're gonna grab our microfiber towel and we're gonna wipe off the residue. And right away, you guys, huge difference, huge jump from the past with V32. Now with V36, you can tell that this trim has much more clarity, much more shine. There is very, very, very fine imperfections still left on the surface, but that's completely fine because we still have to go over it with V38. So I'm not too worried about that. But in terms of the results of what we're looking at so far, this thing is on its way to looking like perfect, crystal clear, better than brand new. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swap out the pad. One thing I do wanna mention before we move on, for you guys at home wondering, why is it taking 3 different products to remove scratches? And the reason is because our Chemical Guys V-line is broken down into segments. So as you guys saw, V32, extremely aggressive. V34, not as aggressive, more so in between of a cutting compound and a cutting polish. 36 is a light cutting polish, and then V38 is a final polish. And the reason we have it broken down that way is because if you always hit your paint or these smooth glossy plastics with V32, even though we all know that it's gonna be the most aggressive and it's gonna cut through all those scratches and swirls, no matter how light or how heavy that they are, you don't always wanna do that. And the simple reason for that is because your life of your vehicle, the paint, these plastics, they have a lifespan. So they do have a layer of clear coat on top of it. And every time you polish, you basically wear it down, you wear it down, you wear it down. V32 wears it down a little bit more just because it's more aggressive. V36, not as much just because it's not as aggressive. So choose your battles wisely. Always start off with the lightest approach and then work your way down if need be. In this case, we already have experience here. We already know what we're looking at here. We know that a polish is not gonna do much for us if we were to tackle it with the polish first. That's why we hit it with V32. So moving on, we're gonna grab our machine here. We're gonna take off our green pad, put that in the bin. I'm also gonna put the towel in the bin. And then I'm also gonna grab my black polishing pad. Now this right here is great because this is a very, very soft pad. Great for that perfect finish once you're done cutting. So now we're gonna go ahead and start refining with V38. Now V38 is perfect because it's the finest in the line of compounds and polishes here. So this is gonna be the perfect final touch just to refine the surface and really bring out the most shine and clarity. So right now I'm just gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing that we did with V32 and with V36. And then I'll be right back with you guys to show you guys the final results and we can close out this video. All right, so now that we're done working in the V38 polish, now we're gonna grab another microfiber towel and we're gonna wipe off the residue to show you guys the perfect finish on these glossy B pillars. And as you guys can see, we'll do a little close up right now with the LED inspection light. My tape is already peeling off, but that's completely fine because we're basically all done here. So we don't really have to pay too much attention to that. And I'm just gonna wipe off the residue and I'll show you guys the results. All right guys, and just like that, we are completely done restoring the smooth, glossy plastic on this piece of trim right here. As you guys saw, we went through a full process with the Chemical Guys V-line, starting off with V32, orange cutting pad, our TORQ 15-day polisher, moving forward with our green heavy polishing pad, V36 light cutting polish, and then topping it off with some V38 and our black finishing pad. So what now? What is the biggest question now is, what do you do after you're done restoring this? And the answer is protect it. Now, what you can do here in terms of protection, you can actually do a bunch of different things. You can either choose to wax, glaze, apply a sealant, or the best thing you can do is apply ceramic coating. So in this case, you can actually apply products like HydroSlick, HydroCharge. You can also apply something more durable like our Carbon Force, which offers up to 5 years of protection. And that's really what's gonna ultimately keep these trim pieces looking great for a lot longer, because they're gonna be protected. They're gonna have an ultra sleek feel, which is gonna help contaminants from sticking. Less contaminants that stick onto the surface means that there's less of a chance of scratches happening on the surface. The sun is gonna be blocked off with those UV protection that the ceramic has, so it's not gonna oxidize or discolor, and it's gonna keep your trim looking great for a lot longer. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up right here. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a huge like. If you guys wanna pick up any of the products that you guys saw on today's video, everything will be linked in the description down below. So I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy the rest of my day off. I'm gonna leave this here so Henry can clean it up and do the rest of the car, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time.